Bring it over into our Facebook and our YouTube channel, so we'll go live there. Dan Hinderer in the studio with us this morning. Dan, let's talk about curling and West Shore Community College involved in this as well.
Absolutely.
Let's dive right into the program. Actually, there's a club right here in the area. When did it start? Why did it start? Take us through that breakdown, if you don't mind.
Absolutely. So, yeah, a little bit of history. So we do have a club local. It's called the Ludington Area Curling Club. We started it back in probably 2018. My wife and I moved up to the area in 2017. We had actually joined a club when we lived in Chicagoland, and that's how we really got introduced to the sport. We had watched it as kids growing up in southeast Michigan, watching it out of Canada. Had no idea that clubs existed in the States. But then when we moved to Chicago, found out my little brother was coming out to curl in a bonspiel, or curling term for a tournament. Mm-hmm. And he invited us to come watch him. Found out that they had curling clubs literally within 20 minutes of where we lived in the greater Chicago area. And we fell in love with the sport, did a Learn to Curl, which is what we're offering here as well. We'll talk about here in a minute. But did a Learn to Curl out of the Chicago Club, and just found it as a great way to pass the winter, be able to meet a lot of cool people, and got very competitive with it, loved it. And again, when we moved up here, had a set of stones that I was able to bring up from Indianapolis while we were part of the club down there as well. Okay. And then I got a second set of stones, and we just started kind of putting things together, knowing the only area for the only facility for ice was the ice arena at West Shore. Got connected with those folks. They've been so supportive. Michael Moore and Tim Landino work very closely with them. They've put markings in the ice at this point. Yeah. But yeah, we're rolling. We're just trying to give people the opportunity, another way to pass the time in the winter. So.
All right, let's talk more about this. You brought up some terms. I'd like to learn a bit more this morning about curling. First of all, I understand the idea is, now that I know it's called a stone, I didn't know, I was thinking disc or something like that. It's a stone. How much does a stone weigh?
Stones weigh about 44 pounds.
Okay, all right. They are put on the ice, and there is I've got this right, it's a broom, right? Yes. It is a broom.
Yes.
What does the broom do for the stone, okay? we see players going crazy in front of that stone.
Well, I'll give you my take on it, and okay. I'm not up to speed on all the new ways that people are talking about the broom and what it does. But as far as what I believe, you're manipulating the curve or the line that a stone will take. So all stones are going to travel on some kind of an apex, depending on the rotation or the curl that you put on the stone. Okay. A broom, if you're thinking at a very minuscule level, but you're trying to put so much pressure on the broom on the ice that you're actually creating a very thin layer of moisture that'll actually stop the stone from biting on the pebble. So there's a pebble over the top of a perfectly flat surface. That's what the stone rides on. Okay. That when you put that rotation on it, it actually bites on that pebble. Okay. If you're heating up the surface, it's not going to bite quite as much, and it might not curl quite as hard. Okay. You're not going to speed the stone up, but you can maintain its momentum. So you can what they call dragging a stone. You can actually drag it further than what it might have traveled without sweeping. Okay. But you also might help it curl a little bit less or a little bit more, depending on where you sweep on that apex, and if that makes sense.
Yes, and as you get closer to, now I call it a target.
The house, yep.
Okay, yep. See, yep. We're learning this morning. That brooming, that the speed of it changes, right, in order to slow it down. Is that fair?
Yes, a little bit. And they're actually now, again, within the past 5 years, I think people have really started to focus on how they can change and manipulate the stone with sweeping. So now you'll see them actually like angle sweeping or side sweeping, where they're trying to get it to bite on one side or the other. Yeah. Where typically there was two people sweeping. Sometimes now there's only one person sweeping, depending on the side of the stone that you want to curl less or more. Okay. So yeah, again, you might. You're trying to get as much. If you're sweeping, you're trying to get pretty much as much pressure on it as you can. Other than if you're just kind of cleaning the path, making sure that the stone doesn't bite on any kind of debris or anything. Okay. Or pick on that. But yeah, you're trying to sweep it pretty darn hard to again keep that momentum up and get it to where you want it to be.
All right. You okay with a few more questions about learning?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So I kind of give this an example of like croquet. So we hit a ball, right? We try to hit the other ball out of the ray. These stones hit other stones.
Absolutely.
Try to move them out of the way. Is that the goal?
Yeah, so there are 16 stones in play in one end. An end is like an inning.
Okay.
So basically, when you go to a curling facility, it's called the sheet that you're playing on. So you're going to see targets or houses at either end, right?
Okay.
An end is when you throw all 16 down to one end.
Okay.
So typically in like league play, we're going to try and play an 8-end game. We're going to be down and back 4 times, if you can picture that. So 4 players on a team. So everybody's going to throw 2 stones. So again, 16 stones total in play for one end. What you're trying to do is be closest to the center.
Okay.
So any stone touching the house is worth 1 point.
Okay.
But it's all about being closest to the center. So only one team can score, and it's the team that is closest.
Okay.
But it's also as many stones as they have that are closer to the center before the other team has one that's out counting theirs.
Okay.
If you can picture that.
Okay.
So you could have 4 red ones inside the that little 4 foot or what we would call like the button area, and if they're all surrounding the button and there's no opportunity for a yellow to get in there, then the red could score 3 or 4 points.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So it's as many as you have closest to the center before the other team has one in. So
when you wanted to be a part of this sport, because there's basketball and football and everything else out there. What is it that curling? What about it appeals? I mean, what is it?
Well, so I have always been into sports. I played a lot of basketball, watched a lot of football, hockey, baseball. Played all of those a little bit, but definitely a lot of basketball. But I think it was something that it was kind of a unique sport. So I always had that competitive spirit, so to speak. But again, not knowing that clubs existed, founded in Chicago. I relate it to like in Canada. And it's becoming more prevalent around the states now, fortunately. But in Canada, where we have bowling alleys in the states, they have curling clubs up in Canada.
Yeah.
Most any small town or medium-sized town that you go to in Canada probably has or at least had a curling club.
Okay.
They're starting to pop up around here, but it was just one of those things that, again, competitiveness and also wintertime activity, where the job I was working in Chicago, really busy spring through fall, slowed down a little bit in the winter. It was just one of those great ways to pass the winter, socialize. A big, and we might talk about it a little bit, but a big aspect of curling is what they call broom stacking afterwards, which was another way for us to get to know and meet people within that area.
Putting everything away.
You kind of, yeah.
Okay.
It's basically broom stacking is a tradition of curling. That means you're sitting down with the team you just curled against.
Okay.
Typically, you're going to have a drink.
Yeah.
Maybe the losers will buy the winners around, and then the winners will buy the losers around. However many beers, sodas, whatever you're going to have, but you just sit around and you get to know the other team you just curled against. It's called broom stacking. It's part of the tradition. It really is.
And you do that here?
We do that here. We somewhat. We're struggling a little bit with. Obviously, at the ice arena, there's not a lot of capability of sitting around afterwards.
Correct.
But we are trying to latch on to some of the local businesses, Jamesport, Ludington Bay, even Starving Artist. We're trying to kind of get together afterwards. Maybe not even necessarily right after we curl, but sometime during that week or during that month, we'll get together as a club and we'll just hang out and get to know each other.
That's cool. If you're just joining us, we're talking with Dan Hinderer. Dan, from the curling club, president of curling club. What's
Current
your
president? Yes.
Okay, awesome. What does the makeup of the club look like? A lot of people. Is it gaining some strength?
It is. So we started back in 2018. It slowed down a little bit with the pandemic, and then also my wife and I had our second son. So 2019, 2020, it really slowed down, but we've been picking back up. Just within this year, we've made a ton of progress. We've become a 501c3. We've created a board. Myself and 4 others are on the board currently. We've got, so we have league curling every Sunday, and there's 16 of us that or 16 that can play. We've probably got 20 to 25 people that are pretty committed to coming week in and week out. Okay. We've got an email list of 100, 120 that I email out when I email the club about what's going on. Yeah. But yeah, we've probably got 20 to 25 consistently that come in and play. So
what's the what's the support that you've seen from West Shore Community College?
Oh my goodness, yes, so supportive. Again, been able to make contact with Michael Moore and Tim Landino, and really, I mean, they've been so gracious. The ice time, we normally would be trying to pay upwards of $200-300 a session. We're only charging $10 a person for people that come out, so $150 ish per session is what we pay to them, and they're more than fine with that. They've put markings in the ice for us that we didn't even have to pay for. They allow us obviously to store all of our equipment. We don't want to have to be taking the stones.
Yeah.
We have racks or carts that we put the stones on, but that all stays there. We've got brooms, stabilize, just all kinds of stuff that just stays in their one corner that they are very supportive with. They're promoting for like doing the Learn to Curls, giving us ice time on Sundays, which seems to work really well for a lot of folks. I'm sure they would offer more if we start to grow it even more. We'd be able to have other opportunities, but they're just very supportive, very supportive.
Well, let's talk about how the community can take part in this. Learn to Curl.
Absolutely.
What date is that, and what's it all about?
So the next Learn to Curl we're hosting, we hosted quite a few back in the fall, and it'll be coming back. We'll do even more this fall, but the one that's coming up, kind of our end of season one, is this next Saturday, April 6th. So the first Saturday in April. We're going to do it from 3 to 5 at the West Shore Ice Arena, and if you are interested, we would love for you to sign up. But basically what we're going to do is put you through, teach you the sport. So as much as you want to learn, we'll have all the equipment. We just ask that you dress fairly warm and have a clean pair of gym shoes. Typically, gym shoes work the best, but just a clean pair of shoes, dress warm. We've got all the equipment, obviously the stones. We've got brooms to borrow. We'll have sliders for you to use to put underneath your shoe when you go to throw the stone. But
you
basically,
don't slip on your butt, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. It's one of those. We're always talking safety. So it's obviously you're out on ice. If you slip and fall, it can hurt.
Yeah,
so, but yeah, safety is first. We're very careful, but we talk you through all of that. Basically, what we're going to do is give you all the pointers and try and get you up to speed, and we'll actually play a little bit of a game. We'll talk through all the different verbiage, so to speak, just like what we just talked about. We'll go through the delivery of the stone, how to deliver. We'll talk a little bit of sweeping. We'll even talk a little bit of strategy if we get to that point, and like I said, hopefully be able to play a little bit of a game. But all the markings are there. Like I said, all the equipment's provided. A little bit of a cash donation would be beneficial, but that's not necessary. But again, just to help support, and that's not even going to the club. That's really just going to the ice arena to help support them. But yeah, just love the sport and want to give people another option, something to do in the wintertime.
All right. So next Sunday, the 6th.
Saturday the 6th.
Saturday the 6th.
Yep.
And then what time? One more time.
3 to 5.
Okay.
3 to 5. And then another bonus of that is Andy at Starving Artist has said we could broom stack that evening.
Oh, that's cool.
So anybody that comes to the Learn to Curl, we're going to be broom stacking at Starving Artist around 6 p.m. For an hour or so. But that Saturday, if anybody's interested, come on out and curl, and then maybe come by and hang out with us a little bit.
Now, should they reach out to you before that, or just show up?
Absolutely. We would appreciate if they could reach out, just so we can kind of keep track of how many folks that are planning on coming, so we can make sure we've got enough instructors lined up. And really, we could take as many as would want to come out, and we'll just figure out how to go through the instruction process. But yeah, if we could know ahead of time. The best way is we do have a Facebook page, so you can find Ludington Area Curling Club on the Facebook page, and there is a sign-up link on there. Or you can email us at ludingtoncurling@gmail.com, or you can reach out to me on my cell phone as well, which is on the Facebook page too.
All right, perfect. Great information this morning. I think the last question I have is, could you see this in our area, or is that even a goal to expand to see maybe high school sports or some of the youth being a part of this program?
I appreciate you asking that, Chris. That's actually one of the main reasons I fell in love with it, is that you can curl curl your entire life. Once you learn it, and typically you're going to start, if you're in a community that has it, you're going to start, kind of that middle school age range, but you could curl all the way up until, 80s, 90s. It's one of those all-encompassing. Mm-hmm. And I would love to get the youth involved. We actually have been working with the Ludington school district, and we've got a middle school PE teacher, Allison Helminski, who's brought her classes the past 2 years to a Learn to Curl, just to introduce them, let them know that it's another option that's out there. I would love to get it in as a middle school or high school sport for sure. You asked about the potential. I mean, I would love to see. Right now, it's working really well at the ice arena. But if we had eventually the potential to do a little 2-sheet curling facility where we could have 2 games going on and it's dedicated ice where we can curl any time of day, any day of the week, opens up a lot of possibilities.
Yeah, very cool.
From youth all the way up.
All right. So it sounds like you're just scratching the surface.
Just scratching the surface.
All right. Well, Dan, we appreciate you coming in this morning.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for what you do and for having us in.
Absolutely. I appreciate you saying that. It is 9:42 now on 102.7 WMOM and Hot Country Hits 99.9. If you missed any of this segment, make sure you check it out on either of our Facebook pages, Hot Country Hits or WMOM, and as well our YouTube channel there. We'll put a link in the comment section to the Curling Club Facebook page so that people can reach out and do that, be a part of it, learn about the sport. I think it's always neat to see it, in the Olympics and on TV and such, but now you can be a part of it right here in the greater Ludington area.